Well, let's see if anybody is gonna be here in the audience tonight. I feel like the lonely repairman, just sitting here all alone. Let's see. I did get notifications on YouTube. I did get, and let me check over here and see if I got my Facebook notifications. Why, yes, I did. Um, let's see. Let me make sure that we're good and live, and I'll explain the empty seat over there here in just a minute, folks. So let's see. Yep, got my YouTube and Twitter and Facebook notifications. So looks like we're good to go there. So what do we got? 13 people. We almost didn't do a show tonight. I gotta be honest, because Mr. Lowry is on a mission to save the penguin. He's on a mission from God to save the penguin. Tell me if you know where that famous movie quote comes from. Hello there, Mr. Larry James Hawkins. Good to see you this evening on the show comments. I'm just kind of sitting here rambling for a few minutes. Again, I feel like the lonely repairman because, well, I guess it's actually on this side of the screen. Because, well, Duke's not here. I've got an empty chair, so I need commentary to be able to ramble on and talk about politics and what's going on in Bossier. So anyway, we got about 20 people so far. Let me know in the comments how the audio sounds so far. Make sure the video looks good. Make sure that everything's going pretty good. Hello, Bruce. Hello, Edie. Good to see y'all tonight. Looks like we got about 25 people on, and again, I'm just kind of rambling for a few minutes. We're going to talk about, for a few minutes, the Caddo election and the lawsuit that was filed, and I'm going to kind of brief you on that. I realize it's not really Bossier politics, but it definitely is going to be have some bearing possibly in the future on Bossier stuff. Yeah, Larry, Wes would be a good remote guest host. As a matter of fact, if Wes comes on and he wants to join the show, just send me a text message. As a matter of fact, let me put some comments up here. Want to join the show as a guest? Comment and send me a text. So I'm having to pull basically triple duty tonight, having to do the tech stuff, the commentary, try to keep this entertaining for at least a few minutes, and see what else we can do. Hello, Miss Ann Price. And again, so I'll say it one more time, and then we'll go ahead and I'll do the countdown, and we'll do the break and all that. But I got about 35 people watching tonight. It's going to be a short show because there's not a whole lot of stuff to talk about, and Duke is might be on his way back up here to North Louisiana by now. I'm not really sure. Hadn't heard from him. He may join us here in a little bit if he gets a chance from the road. We'll have to see. But anyway, so we're about 3 minutes in. I am literally just rambling. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the intro. I'm going to hit the countdown and all that, and we'll be back in about, well, at least I'll be back in about 3.5 minutes. So grab some popcorn, grab a small drink tonight, small bag of popcorn tonight, and I'll be back, and we'll get on with the discussion of a few topics, and maybe Mr. Lowry will join us. All right, here we go. Countdown intro. Be back in about 3.5 minutes.
Folks knew a lot of the back office on the politicians that they think walk on water, they would be shocked. You know, there's an old wound from a knife in my back that just is giving me heck lately, and it's just really irritating, so I have to kind of wiggle around a little bit.
Well, I've not heard my name in stable or Baton Rouge in stable in the same sentence in a long time.
I titled it A Shot Across the Bow of the Good Old Boys.
Just, they feel helpless, they don't feel heard, they have nowhere to turn.
Some Republicans as well believe that government has the answers. And let me tell y'all something. I don't know anything government does well. Nothing.
Aren't there laws that say that you have public meetings so that the public can have accountability of their elected officials?
They're making a little bit of progress, but I would definitely have to give the race to Caddo Parish right now.
I don't know. Is there anybody from Plain Dealing watching, you think?
As a member of the media, I'm very concerned about what I've just heard.
Did you not requisition some money to fight against this or for it?
We hired a lobbyist, and it cost us $15,000. We were opposed to HB 630.
So for this week, folks, the cockroach of the week, according to Bossier Watch and Duke Lowry and Rex Moncrief, is
Raymond Cruz legislative assistant, Allie Feaster Smith. Thank you, Allie.
Well, I'm not thinking Star Wars at all. I'm thinking zombie apocalypse.
No way.
Okay,
It was not
okay.
David. You know it wasn't David Montgomery. David ain't gonna jump off in there with Chris. He ain't gonna do it. He'd as soon spit on him as he would even look at him. Man, this is a Mickey D's Krispy Kreme week. Didn't you know? Who's paying y'all? And if you're driving on the roads, are you safe?
It's on the road, yeah.
Well, I know you're on the road, but I mean, is this all folks coming from the border down there?
Yeah, it's going to border. It's actually going to Mexico and buses.
doesn't mean they interpret it the same way that I do. For instance, the Second Amendment. I take it very literally. That's been interpreted different ways in the court system all the way up to SCOTUS. Yeah, that's only going to cause more division that he claims he doesn't want to cause. And it's only going to cause more suspicion. We're still right now combined on both pages and YouTube at 264 people watching. That is amazing, folks. Coleman Project, the Walker Place deal, through conscious, shocking action. The purpose of their actions was to stop plaintiffs, being the Earl Coleman and associated groups not, from developing Walker Place. But here's the key thing, which in turn would enrich sitting city council members Scott Irwin and David Montgomery Jr.
You hit the button. Does that mean that people are seeing us sitting here talking and chatting?
In theory, you know, it's an every week thing. We got to double check and make sure it's like a miracle any of this actually works. This Bossier Watch live broadcast is brought to you by the Outdoor News, fishing and outdoors for our area. Acadiana Mortgage, over 25 years in the mortgage business. Pelican Training and Consulting. Reach out to Julie Ferris. Transact Card. Unleash the power of your spending with Z-Bucks. Contact Renee Hall. Smarter Geek. Making technology easier. And folks sharing information and watching out for Bossier. Now, grab your popcorn and a drink. Here we go. All right, I've made it back through another one. Show number 182. And for those of you that are just joining us, you'll notice that the title of the show is absent. So again, I'll just keep repeating that Duke is not here. He might join us if he gets out of his meeting when he's headed back north, up towards North Louisiana. He might join us remotely. But if not, we got a few things to talk about. So I'm going to kind of switch screens. I want to get some comments in here. So Robert Wright just shared in the commentary that looks like Mr. Sadow has just released a new article. So let me see. Y'all bear with me for just a second because I'm having to play triple duty here. Let me see if I can switch over to that here and click that. And let's take a look at this. So I was looking at Jeff's Bossier Views earlier and looking for some articles. He had the one from last week about the budget. He must have just published this one. So it's actually pretty interesting. So let's kind of scroll through it real quick. Hello, Mike and Judy Dillingham. Hello, Mr. Ferris. Christopher James Norris. We enjoy the intro as well. All right, so let's scroll through this and we'll I'm literally just reading this now. So Jeff's article is in Bossier City Monuments Come Before Employees and People. I don't know if y'all have been by the Tower of Tax Dollars lately. I've driven around it a couple of times this week, driving through Bossier. I guess, have lights on it now for night viewing and all sorts of things. And I realize that this may be a little small for some of y'all to read, but let's see what his leading paragraph is. It's not just Bossier City employees who find the city's staggering debt load for stalling their abilities to receive pay raises. Retired Bossier City firefighters face the same hurdle with paying health insurance. Last week, the city approved a budget. Y'all saw that in the meeting. Without a cost of living pay raise, they did a couple of one-time payments that they're going to do, I think, this month and in 60 days or something like that. But that doesn't really address some of the issues with Bossier City firefighters and paying. I didn't realize, I wish Duke was here tonight. He could maybe chime in on this as a retired firefighter. But apparently, the retired firefighters have to pay, I guess, about 100% of their health insurance premiums. I mean, that seems kind of crazy to me, especially since those guys literally put their lungs and their health in harm's way to fight fires. So I wasn't aware of that. But again, it goes back to our point that, the city can afford a $300,000 to $400,000 tower of tax dollars, a monument out there. They can afford all this other stuff and go into more debt for that. But they can't afford to pay the employees. I just haven't figured this out. You would think they would put the employees first and all this other stuff secondary. But as you've heard us say over and over, that's really not the case. Christopher James Norris says he saw the story about the Bossier firefighters the other night on KTBS. All right. So I'm just going to kind of scan down this. And for those of you that are listening to the podcast version, and those of you on phones, I realize that, again, this may be hard to see, but if you go to bossierviews.substack.com or just search for Bossier Views, you'll be able to find Sadow's articles, and they're generally pretty good. He does a good job of going into the weeds with all this. But anyway, he says here, not in Bossier City and only excluding firefighters since 2018, according to the city's comprehensive annual financial reports, it must file with the state. The 2017 version, when referring to the city's obligation to retirees, let's see, dental, what's the city with that year? All right. So he goes into this pretty in depth. It's something that you'll probably want to read. Robert H. Wright's got a comment with a link to that article. So anyway, you may want to do it. Paul Black says, and I need all the commentary I can get tonight. It's been nearly 7 years or so since city employees got a raise. They give bonuses, but it doesn't address the pay raises. Yeah, it doesn't. And I think it's kind of ridiculous that they're having to depend on that federal money to do these one-time payments. I mean, that's no way to sustain this. Our city employees or city workers need pay raises, not these one-time deals. Michael Ferris got a text message. Yeah, and Michael, if you want to come on the show and announce it, shoot me a text and let me know, and I will send you the link via text message, and you can come on and do your announcement if you want to here in a few minutes. Up to you. All right, so let me get to my notes and see what else I want to talk about. Let's talk about the voting in Caddo, and we'll go ahead and get that out of the way. So let's see. Let me switch screens here like this. Okay, so here's how this is going to work. Let me pull up. If y'all have watched the news and you watched the show last week, you know that the sheriff's race over in Caddo Parish between Whitehorn and John Nicholson was literally separated by one vote. So anytime that people say, oh, well, my vote doesn't matter, or, what does one vote matter? It matters a lot, because they also and I'm putting in it air quotes, a recount. So let me switch screens again. And let's see here. All right, so they did the recount, or really it was a rescan, because I want to be clear. I've got my notes here. They really don't recount anything. There is zero way to recount the votes that are cast on the machines. And look, y'all have heard me and Duke go back and forth on this. I'm not a, conspiracy theorist on all this, and I tend to be, let's just say, a little more pragmatic about it. But there is something to be said for not having an audit trail of those votes. So once the votes are cast on the machines, there is no way to go back and reconcile the votes cast. Now, the only way to do it would be to look down and again, this is on the machine voting. The only way to do it would be to look down the voter rolls and look at the total number of people that signed in at the precincts versus the total number of votes. And those numbers should match for each precinct. Then at least, Rex, his wife Gina, Bruce, Jessica, Val Baker all voted, and we have the exact same number of votes cast on that machine. But there is no audit trail. That's why they can't do a recount of the machines. They have to do a recount of the mail-in ballots. Now, this is interesting because they didn't really from what I understand, do a hand recount of those mail-in ballots. They only did a rescan of them. So they took the absentee ballots, they ran them through their Scantron machine or whatever they call it, with the guy from the Secretary of State's office present. Of course, he was actually doing that. They also had the Board of Election Supervisors for Caddo Parish, which is one person each from the Democratic Party, one person from the Republican Party over in Caddo, one governor-appointed person, and then the registrar of voters and the clerk of court for Caddo Parish all serve on that Board of Election Supervisors. But let's be clear, they didn't really do any recounting. Now, there was some confusion because, let's see, like Christopher James Norris said, they did the recount and both got 3 extra votes. Or again, I want to be clear, the rescan. So they just ran them back through the machines. If there were any discrepancies or the machine couldn't read it, then the board itself looked at those and made the decision on what to do with those ballots. And apparently when they did that, they both got 3 extra votes, which puts them at the same difference of 1 vote. Now, naturally, that means that there's going to be a lawsuit because as we read from John Suttle's blog, he did a pretty good summary of it here, so let's scan down it. Nicholson filed an election challenge yesterday, Monday, and this was after the recount gave Henry Whitehorn and Nicholson additional 3 votes. The result of the recount gave Whitehorn again a 1-vote majority. Now, honestly, it doesn't matter to me. I'm not pulling for Nicholson or Whitehorn in this race either way. But Nicholson's got some points here that, they have to be addressed. So it was a 14-page lawsuit, 66 pages of exhibits. And he says 2 voters cast absentee ballots and voted in person. So they voted absentee, mail-in ballot. They also voted in person. Well, how do you reconcile that? Because you don't know who those people voted for. So how can you know who those 2 votes would go to? And I agree, Paul. Something does seem really fishy about this. I mean, it's not me being a conspiracy theorist or anything like that. I'm not even relating this to the 2020, election with Trump and Biden and all that. I'm not even trying to tie it into that. It's just there are errors that go on, and they really shouldn't. Point number 2, he says 2 votes were cast by 1 voter. Now, I don't know how he knows all this, but he had 66 pages of exhibits with the lawsuit. Let's see. 4 interdicted voters cast ballots. An interdicted person does not have the legal capacity to vote. 1 absentee ballot was not signed by the putative voter. Multiple absentee ballots were not correctly witnessed, which is a requirement of law, and that is actually true. The Board of Election Supervisors are the ones that have to sign off, literally sign off, on those ballots being correctly witnessed and signed. Multiple absentee ballots were witnessed by persons, not family members, which is a requirement of law. Many irregularities, this is kind of general, many irregularities occurred at polling places. So, as John says, Nicholson's got the burden of proof. It's going to trial. Now, we've had 2 judges recuse themselves in this because both judges that the first judge that got assigned to the case was apparently associated with Whitehorn. He recused himself. Then the next judge was apparently associated with one of them, I guess with Nicholson maybe or whatever. He recused himself. So right now we're going through the gauntlet of judges. So whatever happens with this case is going to have some bearing on elections going forward. Yeah, and then there was the deal where the Caddo clerk of court, I think it was Mike Spence over there, said that like some dead people voted. So, and that's not even mentioned in the lawsuit. So, yeah, this is not a good situation at all. All right, let's see what Jeff Sadow says. Keep in mind that the partisan composition of the board was 3 Democrats, 1 Republican, 1 no party. And apparently, Jeff, I read in one of the articles that the guy that was the Republican has signed an affidavit saying there were some irregularities that the board did in the recount or rescan in validating those absentee ballots. So there's that to add to the mix. So this is going to be really interesting. Anyway, Jeff says the board refused to do a hand recount against the wishes of GOP member and stuck with a machine recount. So it's going to be interesting. Val Baker says, well, Whitehorn worked for the city of Shreveport. Enough said right there. All right, so we'll see how this is going to turn out. Maybe we'll have some movement on the lawsuit. I'm sure they're going to try to hurry this up and either, they'll either let the recount stand. It's going to go to throwing it out and have another election. Who knows? Let's see. Christopher James Norris. Yeah, Whitehorn was the CAO under Perkins, and that was a disaster. Mike, I'm not sure. Let me see if I can find the. Let me see if I can find out and see who the judge is. Let's see, Nicholson lawsuit. Accuse. All right. Let's see. New judge assigned the lawsuit after first one stepped aside. All right, let me switch this back over here. All right. Let's see. First judge was Raymond Lafitte. He filed an order of self-recusal Tuesday saying he's a friend of one of the parties. And I may stand corrected. I'm not sure. It's Brady O'Callahan now. I'm not sure if Brady is going to recuse himself or not. There were some rumors swirling around that Brady O'Callahan may have some ties to Nicholson, maybe Whitehorn or whatever. So I don't know if he's actually recused himself or not. That brings up an interesting point. I want to switch over here. This is all of Alvin Oliver's Facebook page. Now, Alvin Oliver has a radio program on a local radio radio station over in Caddo Parish. And again, I know it's a little small, but he said earlier today, about 5 hours ago, we were told that Judge Raymond Lafitte had recused himself from the court case scheduled for Thursday. This is very disappointing, and I think I think all local district judges should recuse themselves. Actually, I agree with that. But he's saying that Lafitte recused himself, and the case has been reassigned to Brady O'Callahan. And according to Alvin Oliver, he was told he was at Nicholson's watch party. So he's saying that O'Callahan should recuse himself as well. Well, my question to Alvin Oliver, I got a notification for this post, but mine was pretty simple. I said, look, we're watching from this side of the river and agree the case should be heard by a judge well away from the local districts. However, we got to ask, were you against Raymond Lafitte hearing the case in the first case before he recused himself? In other words, all right, so the Democrat guy or judge was hearing it and you're fine with that. Now all of a sudden you're against O'Callahan hearing it. But what was your stance on Lafitte hearing it? All right, so anyway, a little bit of Facebook drama going there. Let me see if... let's see here. All right, let me see if I can get Michael Ferris in. So hold on just a second. Let me see if I can get you in here. Let's see. Let me send you. I'm gonna send you a link over to your cell phone. All right. So if you want to, just click the link and come on in. All right. Let's see. Val Baker says outside judges need to be appointed. I agree. Bruce says if judges follow the law, it's pretty simple. But when judges follow the money, things get complicated. And the problem is we don't know whether they're really following the law because the law can be interpreted sometimes in different ways or whether they're following the money. But I definitely agree. It does get complicated there. All right. So I also want to bring up this, and I'm going to share this out. Okay. Yeah, Michael Ferris. So I'll bring you in just a second, Michael. I also want to share this out, and we're going to talk about this here in a little bit. This is the Board of Election Supervisors Handbook. And it's available online from the Secretary of State's site. I'm going to share it out on Bossier Watch's Facebook page after the show. And it's a pretty interesting read. I know it's 38 pages. Some of you may find it boring, but it's a pretty interesting read because it really kind of goes through how this process works when you hear about these elections and recounts or how the actual voting goes and all that. This is a very, very, very interesting read if you're into this stuff. All right, let me see if I can switch screens again. Let me see if I can get Michael Ferris in here. Let's see here. Let's see. Right. Hold on just a second. You are upside down, so that's not going to work. All right. Let's see here. Give me just a second, folks. Okay, you are exactly 180 degrees, so. All right, can you hear me?
Hey, Rex.
All right, good. We have audio. Everybody in the comments, let us know if y'all can hear Michael Ferris. All right, so what are you up to this evening?
Okay.
We have feedback on audio going.
Yes, sir, I can.
Okay. So we got some pretty good feedback going. I'm hearing an echo in the background. Maybe may have to turn down your volume.
This is a little off politics topic, but in being training providers in the state of Louisiana for OSHA compliance and skill sets, soft skills, certifications, that sort of thing for Louisiana employers, and having done that in Louisiana for 13 plus years, we had several of our customers, Halliburton, whatnot, ask us if we would provide a space for employees to be able to go and conduct training outside of their businesses. So, what Julie Ferris and I did was we created a space in South Bossier off Barksdale Boulevard, and we are going to be offering public classes related to first aid, CPR, a variety of topics, customized topics, providing a space for employers in Bossier Parish to be able to host leadership classes, training sessions for specific groups if they want to get outside of their normal environment and create a different learning experience. So, along those lines, we are working with the Bossier Parish or Bossier City Chamber of Commerce, and we're going to be doing a ribbon cutting ceremony on January 11th. Time to be determined, and we're hoping that everybody who is a fan of the show, everybody who has anything involved with training of their team and their staff would be willing to come out and spend some time with us on that day and have a look at the new facility, assess whether or not it would work for them, and see if we can't make this happen down in South Bossier.
Well, that sounds pretty cool. We might have to put together a safety training class for Duke and I on how to be careful in what we say politically and
Julie,
online.
I need to turn that phone up.
All right, can you hear me? Nah.
Hold on a second. We turn the volume down.
Okay. Yeah, maybe turn it back up just a little bit. Technical difficulties, folks. We're absolutely winging it tonight. All right. So what I was saying is we might need to put together a special training class for Bossier Watch for Duke and I, because of some of the stuff that we talk about could be dangerous. And, we may need some safety training.
Look, I'm going to tell you, we're very good at a lot of things, Rex, but I don't know if we have a training class that would handle you and Duke, especially not at the same time.
Yeah, that could be a little interesting. And I kind of got a sneak peek at your facility when I went by and dropped off your hats not too long ago. And I got to say, just from what I saw, it's a nice place.
Julie, you got to turn the volume up.
All right. Can you hear me now? All right. So anyway, anything else that you want to announce tonight?
Well, another thing is, and I hope everybody watching will consider this. Julie and I are strong advocates of the term limit push in Bossier Parish, both for the city and for the parish, for our police jurors especially. With that being said, we are making our new training facility available to anybody who is looking for a place during business hours who would need to find a place to sign the petition to support the term limit push in Bossier City and in Bossier Parish. We are open 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. We have a receptionist up front who will be happy to help you get signed up on that petition and maybe drive this important topic for our local officials. The highest office in the United States has a 2-term limit. And I think that is an excellent example for people in public service to emulate.
I would tend to agree. As a matter of fact, if you don't mind, after the show or whenever, send me a reminder and I'll draw up a little graphic or something and get it posted on the Bossier Term Limits page and site, and we'll share it out to let folks know, if you want to, that they can stop by and do that. Technology again. All right. Audio not good. Okay. All right. Well, let's go ahead. We're having some issues.
I hope that we're going to have other employers, business owners, people who have facilities that are available I hope this will encourage them to participate as well. The easier we can make this for everybody who is a registered resident and voter related to this topic, I think the quicker we can get this done. I think political games were played for the first term, are still being played, and I think that the folks who are playing those games are underestimating the will of the people. And I think the will of the people was expressed loudly with that first petition. I think we can easily beat that first petition.
Yeah, probably so. Okay, well we'll post some information on both the Bossier Watch's page and on the Bossier Term Limits page. We'll get together, later next couple of days or something, get something posted about that and about your open house. And yeah, I'll try to make it down there and see if I can drag Duke down there too for the open house. All right. Anything else you want to announce, Mr. Ferris? We are not having good audio tonight. See you later.
Don't bring Duke unless you bring Carol. We want them both.
We can do that. All right. Talk to you later.
No, sir.
All right. See you later.
Thank you.
Okay, so we had some audio issues going tonight. Definitely some gremlins or whatever. But anyway, so we'll post some information about the open house coming up for Pelican Training. That's Julie and Michael Ferris down there. They're down there in South Bossier. I did get a sneak peek at their office space down there and their facilities. Very, very nice. And also, we'll put up some information about the Bossier term limits. We'd had a few people ask us if that was, what the status of that was and how things were going. So I'll try to get some information posted and updated about that. All right, let's revert back to the Bossier Parish or the Parish Board of Elections Supervisors Handbook. So let me switch over to this. And we'll get down in the weeds with this for just a few minutes because I've got a few things that I want to share. So again, this book, this PDF is available online. I'll share it on the Bossier Watch page after the show. But notice it goes through, it's about 38 pages and goes through basically step by step what the boards of election supervisors, their responsibilities, their powers and duties, their legal representation, and how it works. And I think it would be pretty eye-opening for a lot of you to actually read that. There's even information in here on ethics and dual office holding as it relates to the board. So pretty interesting information. So I want to skip down here. There were a couple of things that kind of stood out to me that I wanted to mention on the show tonight. So I'm going to roll through here real quick. One is, I'm looking on page 5 of this, section G. It's reinspection or recount if requested. So a candidate or a person who voted in a proposition election may request in writing to reinspect the machines and or recount absentee and early voting ballots if the number of absentee and early voting ballots cast for all candidates for an office or the proposition could make a difference. In other words, if there's not enough to recount to make a difference, if there was enough of a gap between, say, first and second place finishers in the race, they're not going to do the recount. All right. Or if it's ordered by the court. If requested, the board must meet on the 5th day after an election to recount the absentee and early voting ballots for a particular office, inspect the absentee ballot envelope flaps, and reinspect the voting machines. Now, I got to tell you, that's just a matter of making sure that the total number of votes cast on election day still equals a total number of votes cast 5 days later showing on the machines before they get zeroed out. That's really all the inspection of the voting machines does. Also, so you know, the Board of Election Supervisors is subject to sunshine laws or public records laws. And so it is considered a public body. As a matter of fact, many of you may not know most of the meetings are, and you've heard me say this before, most of the meetings are actually public meetings that you can attend. Now, if you go in there on election evening, say after you go vote or whatever, if you didn't early vote, you can go up to the courthouse. You have to be sequestered in there. And so they basically, keep you up there in the registrar of voters office, and no cell phones, no cameras, that type of thing, because they don't want you to be able to communicate outside in case the polls are still open. But anyway, you have to be sequestered in for a little bit, but those are open meetings. Very, very few people actually attend those. We've had a few. When I was on the board, Bossier Parish Board of Election Supervisors, you've heard us talk about Duke's been up to a few of them and all that. But anyway, so you can do that, and then it also goes into the commissioners and poll watchers and how the election process works, what watchers and super watchers are. And so if you've ever heard these terms but not sure what they are, this document really does a good job of explaining that. And like I said, I will post it for y'all to read later on after the show. Let's see, let me check my messages here. All right. Let's see. So what else was I going to talk about tonight? Let's see, page 14, the recount of the absentee. All right, so let me look and see. Page 11, 12. Let me get down here to what I want to show you. Okay. The recount of absentee by mail and early voting ballots. Again, on the 5th day after an election, if timely requested in writing, the board must meet to recount the absentee and early voting ballots or reinspect the machine. Let's see. There was one here I wanted to show you. The procedures for early voting machine ballots and paper ballots voted during early voting are as follows. A member of the board presents for counting the early voting verification form. The board reviews those forms, and then, if acceptable, they sign the verification form. And so really all's we're signing off on, or all's the board signs off on, is that there's a printout from the machines, and the board's signing off that we agree that the machines were zeroed. Now they show this particular count, and they sign off on it. All right. Christopher James Norris says maybe the Bossier Parish Police jury needs to read this election booklet. Maybe so. Maybe the part on dual office holding might be applicable to them. I don't know. Val Baker says email it to the police jury. All right. So anyway, again, it goes through there. On the paper ballots, if a majority of the board determines that a paper ballot voted during early voting is invalid, the members must leave the flap on the ballot envelope and then leave the envelope sealed, because again, you have to have an anonymous vote here, right? The members must leave the flap on the ballot, leave the envelope sealed, and write rejected and the reasons for rejection across the ballot envelope. I've actually had to participate in this type of stuff before. And write rejected and their initials on or beside the name of the voter. So anyway, there is a process that goes through this. And I think, as somebody commented earlier, part of the issue that folks have with the recount or rescan in Caddo Parish was they just decided to literally do the rescan. According to what the reports we're seeing, they didn't really go through these very well, and so that presents a challenge, because as we saw, they have already got 3 extra votes for each candidate, which kind of zeroed them out, so Whitehorn still is 1 up, but that's 6 extra votes that they found just on that. So to me, it needs to be a little more thorough. All right. Let's see, a couple more quick things, and then we'll start wrapping this up. So let me get over here. I want to share something y'all may or may not know about yet. Let's see. Screen share. Y'all may or may not know about. We got some confirmation on this. So there, let me think of the best way to put this. Two things. One, Duke and I talked about last week. There's going to be another judge's race coming up. That's not really a secret. Ali Ayello Stahl is going to run for district court whenever the vacancy occurs. But the other rumor is, and it's really not a rumor, our favorite Bossier City attorney, Charles Jacobs, is on medical leave due to a serious illness. Now, we know with reasonable certainty what the illness is. I'm not going to say it here out of respect for his privacy and all that, but it is very serious. As a matter of fact, he was at the city council meeting last week and left the city council meeting and apparently went to the hospital or went to get checked out. And I think they may have admitted him or whatever. So anyway, in all seriousness, as much as we've made fun of Jacobs and he has entertained us for a couple of years now on this show, we don't wish anybody ill health, even though he did want to run over John Settle with a Zamboni. We don't wish anybody ill health. And so our prayers are with him that at least he'll be able to be healed and get over his illness or be able to get back to functioning, semi-normally. As of now, Richard Ray is, of course, the assistant city attorney. I assume he'll be acting or filling in for Jacobs until Jacobs can get back to good health. So anyway, in spite of Jacobs wanting to run over Settle with a Zamboni and all the shenanigans with Wes Marriott and everybody else, we do wish him actually a speedy recovery. So we just want to get that in there. All right. One more thing. Bossier Parish and the library board. So let's see. Let me get this screen pulled up. Let me switch screens here real quick. And let's see here. Hold on just a minute. Okay. So our good friends over at the police jury, first thing I want to do is we're going to go down memory lane just a minute. So let me explain what this is. And let me set this video up. We're going to watch a couple of minute video. So, several years ago, as a matter of fact, back in the 2016, 2017, 2018 time period, many of you may or may not know that, Andy, Michael Ferris says best wishes and prayers for the Jacobs' healing and recovery. Andy Monica says, wouldn't this be a good time to roast Duke? It'd be an absolute wonderful time to roast Duke. And y'all are free to roast Duke in the comments all you want. He's not here to defend himself. He'll have to do it after the fact, and, well, it won't matter then. All right. But anyway, back in the 2016 through 2018 time period, I don't know if y'all remember the burn chamber and the whole drama that went on out at Camp Minden and the huge explosion that happened, and it was all over the news, and it was a big, massive ordeal. Okay. Well, I went to most of the meetings that were going on during that time frame. I was pretty heavily involved in all that, posted a bunch of videos. As a matter of fact, it's kind of where I started honing my craft as far as the videos for Bossier Watch goes and all that, even before Duke and I had come up with the Bossier Watch entity and all that. So I developed this deal called the Burn Chamber and made a Facebook page and all that for it. But anyway, here's what I want to do. I'm going to play you this video. This is the Webster Parish Police Jury. And actually, Patrick Jackson is there as a parish attorney. This is back in April of 2017. So we're doing a little time machine rewind here. But I want you to watch this video. And I want you to listen to how Dustin Mosley presents this to his fellow police jurors. These are the kind of police jurors we need. Not the yes men. not the police jurors that get everything decided before the meeting, so at the meeting they all vote consistently and there's no discussion about anything. They just vote yes on everything. This they need to pay attention to. So anyway, bear with me for a few minutes. Let's do a little rewind here back to 2017.
There's a lot of distractions. The only fact that matters is people do not want this in their community. And it's not just Doyle by a long shot. Every single juror sitting here today has had over 2,000 people contact you saying that they don't want it to stay. Every single one of them. Our office, our Webster Parish Police Jury office, has had over 2,000 people contact our office and ask that we stand with them for this to go. Do you know how many people we've had contact our office wanting us to stay? One. One person. 2,000 to 1. Would the people here today that want this chamber to leave their community stand up, please? Now, would y'all sit down and the people that want it to stay stand up, please? That's the two groups we're talking about. It's overwhelming. We've had every single indicator we have said that the people do not want this. Gene Reynolds, Ryan Gaddy, Dodie Horton, every single representative we have for the state has said it's obvious to them the overwhelming majority of the people don't want it. That's in Webster Parish and in Bossier Parish. The pastor of the biggest church in Halton, I talked to him. He said he knows he's got almost 1,000 people attend his church every Sunday morning. He said the only single people I know that want this to stay there is the ones that work out there. Y'all can sit here and act like the people want this, but all these people right here have contacted you saying they do not want it. Have y'all gone through these to see who contacted you? Anybody on this jury, raise your hand if you've gone through and looked to see who contacted you saying they didn't want it. We got one.
Not all of them has to be.
All right, another thing is, y'all, how many on the jury has taken the tour? How many on the jury has been to regularly attended the meetings where all this was discussed? The Webster Parish, the people of Webster Parish fought. The reason we're sitting here today, the only reason we have a burn chamber, I agree with Nick, is because of the people of Webster Parish. And all those people also said they don't want it to stay here after it's done. You can talk poll. The only reason we're sitting here today to vote is because everybody wants to do it before the poll comes out. Because everybody knows nobody wants it. It's obvious. Obvious.
So I'm going to stop it right there. That was Dustin Mosley, former Webster Parish police jury guy. And you heard Duke and I a couple of weeks ago bantering back and forth about the burn chamber and all that. And, you know, of course, Duke isn't here to defend himself, so, you know, we'll really pour on the coals. But his contention was he didn't remember, you know, that many people being against it. I was literally in the middle of it. And like Dustin said right there, he's got 2,000 signatures from Bossier and Webster Parish. He literally laid them up on the counter and then called out his fellow police jury members on that. Now, contrast what Dustin was just doing right there to the Bossier Parish police jury, and they have basically appointed everybody to the library board now. Now, whether they legally can do that or not is still a little contentious because the Attorney General's office hasn't ruled in on this. But we haven't heard one police juror from Bossier Parish stand up and speak out about something. They just all go lockstep. The only exception to that was at the reappointment or potential reappointment of Robert Berry, and they ended up putting Rodney Madden on there. That's the only time I've seen any contention with the police jury. But when it comes to appointing themselves to these library boards, kicking little old ladies off the library board, basically taking full control, unmitigated control of the library board's budget, well, they just do it. So this is another good article that Jeff just put out where he talks about, they had started encroaching in on the library board, appointed a few members, then a few more, and now pretty much they've just taken over the thing. Where are our police jury members that actually debate something with passion like Dustin Mosley did right there in 2017 on the Webster Parish Police Jury? Where are they? I don't want, and I know I can speak for Duke as well on this, we don't want, and I'm sure you folks don't want, people that are up there, male or female, that are basically yes men. We just don't want that, and that's basically what we've got. All right. Andy Monica says, what do you think is the reason for putting the whole jury on the board? I don't know. Maybe it's to make it easier to have access to the budget. I don't know what the library board's total budget is. It's in the millions of dollars. Maybe it's just to make it easier to have full control over that. I don't really know what the end game for this is, but we got to figure that out. And so if any of you have any ideas, let us know in the comments, send us text messages, whatever. All right, folks, look, that's about all I've got to talk about tonight. Really didn't have much. Again, Duke, hopefully, hadn't heard from him yet, but hopefully he'll be back on his, well, hold on a second. Yeah, let me see. I just got a text. Let me see. Bear with me just a minute. We might get him on, so y'all need to hurry up and roast him if you're going to get it done. All right, let's see. All right, so he just sent me a text. I replied back to him. We'll give him a minute and see if he wants to come on. And we'll hide the comments so he won't see us talking about him. But, let's see. Yeah, all right, so we'll hear from Duke here in just a second, so I'm going to ramble on for a few minutes. So, let's see, Val Baker says there is a group called the Bossier Library Ambassadors to go against this, but it disbanded. I guess I'll have to dig into that, or if you got some information on that, Val, send it to us. Send it to the either bossierwatch@gmail.com or bossierwatch@protonmail.com account if you got some more information about this. We need to check into that. Let me send Duke this link over to the show. All right. Michael Ferris says they voted on the Bossier Parish Library Control Board budget that they appointed themselves to. Yeah. And, full disclosure, of course, Michael Ferris ran for police juror. So, did you ever dig into that anymore, Ferris? And find out any more information on that? All right. Let me switch screens. Let me see if I can get Duke on here. Hold on just a second here. Can you hear us, Mr. Lowry?
Oh, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Actually, we can hear you. Little dark, but that's okay since I assume you're driving.
Yep, rolling down 49, making the old trip like a lot of our folks do when they have to go south to make changes in government. And anyway, yeah, making that trip.
All right, well, hold on just a second. So everybody watching the show, y'all remember, don't talk about Duke anymore in the comments while he's on the show. So, all right, sorry, Duke. Just want to throw that out there.
Well, I had a few text messages from people saying, "Where are you? What are you doing?" And well, I can't say, but what I can tell you is that volunteering on behalf of the state of Louisiana. And I'll leave it at that. And I will tell you that I am extremely optimistic about the future and where things are heading. And you should be optimistic as well, too.
Good. Yeah, I only mentioned that you were south of here and probably going to be heading back north.
Yeah. So what did I miss? Do we have a Caddo Parish Sheriff yet or not?
Not well. Technically, yes, except the lawsuit's been filed. So we discussed that, for a few minutes, and I went through the Board of Elections Supervisors Handbook that I'm going to post on Bossier Watch after the show, and we kind of hit a few high points of that, and then I went back and showed the video from the Webster Parish Police Jury meeting with Dustin Mosley, and we contrasted that to our yes men we have on our own police jury and the library board situation. So, just kind of rambled for about an hour.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, one of the things, and for folks watching, and Rex, you and I haven't had any time to talk about this, and I did actually, believe it or not, I called into the Moon Phone show and brought to his attention something that I have not heard has been being discussed. But in regards to the lawsuit in Caddo Parish and the sheriff's thing, as you know, Nicholson filed an 80-page lawsuit. And what's not being talked about is, and I haven't actually read this part myself, but allegedly there are sworn statements by election workers to, I will use the term, my term, anomalies in the voting on the machines. And that is said
Well,
to be in the lawsuit.
well, let me add a little bit into that because I saw a report earlier. Mike Spence, who is the clerk of court over there in Caddo, his response, and I'm paraphrasing a little bit here, but his response was, well, there's anomalies and deals filed every election.
Well, I challenged Moon Griffon today and I said, so Moon, is Brandon Trosclair justified now? I mean,
Yeah.
he made the case that our elections have problems, and now we're seeing it. Play out just across the river, and I said, well, why don't we just implement Nancy Landry's plan of having a quote unquote risk limiting audit so that we would know it's all good.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, and like I've been saying the whole show and earlier, when we had some back and forth going about it, it's really not a recount. It's just simply a rescan.
That's exactly right. And if the machine, or there is a ghost in the machine or an anomaly, we're just going to trust the machine to do it again.
Yep. All right. Well, look, you're kind of starting to
the mail ballots and the actual.
Yeah, well, you're starting to cut out a little bit, so why don't we go ahead and wrap up the show and let you pay attention to the road while you're headed north, and we'll talk about this some more, I'm sure, next week. Perfect timing. Frozen Duke. All right, let me give him a second. There he is. Okay, he's back. So, anyway, I also mentioned about Jacobs and his medical leave. John Settle had an article about that. Oh, the joys of technology. All right, must be a bad cell area. All right, well, anyway, safe travels, Duke. We'll talk to you later on, and I'm going to go ahead and close out the show, but I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about next week. All right, there he goes. All right, folks. The I-49 Bermuda Triangle strikes again. Greg Bell says, in Orlando and just now getting on. Well, Greg, sorry, we're about to wrap it up. Duke's been traveling, and so I was just kind of winging it and ad-libbing here for about an hour. But looks like we're going to have plenty to talk about next week. So I'll just leave it at this. I want to thank all of y'all for hanging out for the past hour with me. And we had 50 to 60 people on, so that's actually pretty good. We didn't have a whole lot to talk about tonight, but we'll have plenty to talk about next Tuesday night, I'm sure, as Duke and I discuss the meeting he was at tonight, and we get a little further along on this Caddo deal, and we start digging into the library. So anyway, appreciate all of you watching. Quick things real quick. Don't forget, the hats are on sale on the website, so I've got some pure black ones, which are pretty good looking hats, as well as some of these and some charcoal. Go to bossierwatch.org, buy you a hat. That helps donate a little bit of coffee money to us. If you got an email you want to send us, bossierwatch at Proton Mail. If it needs to be anonymous, make you a free Proton Mail account. Don't put any identifying information in. Send an email to bossierwatch@protonmail.com, and we do get and read those and get a lot of information. If it's just regular old email, you're not worried about it, send it to bossierwatch@gmail.com. Val, I've got some long sleeve shirts, but I'm fixing to design some regular t-shirts, so I'll have those up by next show, and we'll get those posted and all that. So anyway, appreciate everybody watching, all the comments. That kind of kept me going and kept me ad-libbing for a little bit. I'll post the election supervisor's handbook so y'all can take a look at that after the show. We'll see you next week. Let's see. Bruce says, I want some koozies. Hot pants? Well, I might have to do some of those too. Anyway, looks like I need to get to designing merchandise. All right. We'll see y'all later. See you next week.